What's up, Reefer Revolutionaries? It's 420 in California.
I think in terms of
this is Reefer Revolution Live.
I think that should be a state issue, state by state. I think it's up to the states, yeah. I'm a states person. I think it should be up to the states, absolutely.
It's up to me to turn my microphone
I know
on.
people that are very, very sick, and for whatever reason, the marijuana really helps them.
Good people don't smoke marijuana.
Well, for whatever reason, the good people of over at MAPS have completed their research into PTSD and smokable cannabis. We're going to talk about that this week, as well as it seems that Donald J. Trump didn't like Jeff Sessions' war on weed. So he was telling Cory Gardner that yeah, my dad used to talk like that. We're gonna get past that. Is that what's happening? Is 2019 the year in weed? We think it might be. Welcome to Reefer Revolution Live, everybody. Everybody's jumping in the chat. Spark up. What are we smoking? Where are you smoking, all you good people?
I'm all in. This is the time to go all in on cannabis.
It is the time to go
Smoke
all in.
marijuana.
Oh, please, Jeff. You're getting old. It's getting old, Jeff. But you're in the news this week. And we're over there on Weed TV. What's up, everybody? Oh, we'll talk about that in a minute. Claude Bouchard. What's up, everybody? It is indeed 420 in California. I'm Dave Conan. This is Reefer Revolution Live, the show where we spark up, talk about marijuana in the mainstream media, the politics of pot, and cannabis cures. And when I say we, of course, I mean my partner in all things cannabis and life, Coach Chela.
Hi, everybody. How's it going? I got these fantastic new glasses this week, and I couldn't think of any other place to wear them than here.
To debut the fabulous pink butterfly glasses that could look like marijuana leaves. You were saying, sort of a marijuana stalk. I don't know.
I feel like they have a little cannabis-esqueness to them.
A cannabis feel, and then you also have your purple and green boutonniere.
Yes, I have my felt flower that we got in Victoria.
Oh, very nice, very nice. Well, yes, I promised
I'm all floral.
Brian Arbor has this up on his big screen in the bedroom, which is a little, intimidating. What's up, everybody? Brian Arbor is, as I said, is in the chat. Barbara Heth is there. Laura P. Patreon.
Holy cannabis oil.
Holy cannabis oil
Awesome.
in the house. Awesome. Holy cannabis oil. Thank you so much. One of our brand new patrons.
Sweet.
Over there
Thank
at Patreon. Thank you so much.
Awesome.
HCO Research. I think that's you, yeah. Obi-Wan Cannabinoid jumping in.
All right.
What else? Who else we got in there? Small Tubes
We
coming in
got
from
MDN
Virginia.
Niles, Cannabis Sativa, Brian Arbor.
Mason 662.
Yeah. Nice.
Brian
Nice to see
Wilkerson was
everybody.
first in, I think. Jacob Downey is
All
in
right.
there. CJ Opo actually was first. I stand corrected. CJ
yes,
Opo
yes,
was
yes.
first in the chat. Welcome, everybody. While we have you, this is, of course, Reefer Revolution Live. We do this show every Sunday at 420 and do the things we do about cannabis and normalizing, mainstreaming. We talk about cannabis recreationally and medically, because when you recreate, you medicate. Talk about all laws, media things, cross country, have a good time doing it, spark up, hang out with all you good people. So we've got actually big news this week. Big news with cannabis research, with real smoked flower medicine, folks. Smoked flower medicine. That's right. That's right. That is the future of cannabis medicine. And we have an interview with someone who's going to try to make that happen over the next 20 years that we got from the Emerald Cup. We're going to preview the interview for you guys all here before we launch it to the channel on its own. So that'll be kind of cool. We'll get into
Work
that.
in progress.
That, of course, is Dr. Sue Sicily from the University of Arizona, where the research started. But we'll get into that when we talk about it. But that's really good news this week. It was fantastic to meet her and hear about the research from the Emerald Cup. We're going to play a little bit about that, as well as some of the other stuff in the headlines this first hour. Welcome, everybody, to the show. Subscribe, get notifications. Make sure you are give a thumbs up, share, tell people about the show that we do this every Sunday. And we have a poll going in the chat, folks, a poll going for this show. You can drop an answer in the chat, quick question, but there's also a poll on the broadcast if you want to make your vote known in this democracy. We, as you may or may not know, YouTube is updating its copyright policies.
Oh, yeah.
And I briefly want to tell everybody that we might be, after our first hour here on YouTube, where we engage with all you good folks and talk about the news and not watch so many videos. We're going to have live interviews, play interviews and stuff that we've done, stuff that we've produced. But playing the videos, having a watch party, MST 3000 style, it's not so favorable with the YouTube crowd. So, or at least with the
Meaning
company.
it's illegal.
Meaning it's copyright
Meaning
infringement.
they'll get us thrown off of YouTube.
Right. It's
not just for cannabis.
It's we claim fair use, quite frankly. Quite
it
honestly.
is fair use, but
because of the amount of content that we put out in that 4 hours and the amount of each one we use, But we don't, who needs that mishigas, as they say. So we're gonna probably end up taking the Afterburn to another platform, and we want to know, where would you guys like to go to chat? Now, most of these you can just watch without chatting. But if you want to chat and engage, you have to sign up somehow and become a member, start an account of some kind, blah, blah, blah. And the options really, where we are restreaming now as we speak, of course, is Twitch, Periscope, and DLive over on the decentralized Lino blockchain. All excellent, excellent streaming platforms, which I don't think we're going to have a problem watching videos on and chatting and engaging. So we're thinking about doing that with the Afterburn. So I'm leaving that out there for you guys. Drop an answer in the chat. We'll go back and look at it, take the poll on the stream, tell us where you think the Afterburn might need to go if we get popped by YouTube. The thing is, we don't want to get the live stream shut down. And with them changing new rules, we don't want to lose our streaming capability on YouTube. We might possibly get our monetization back. But that's, besides the point. I don't want to lose the audience for our first hour and our building of our family here, our Canna family, Stoner fam, whatever you want to call us over here, the Reefer Revolutionaries, the OG Reefer Revolutionaries. And you can become a member of the OG 420 over on Patreon. I'll drop the link in the chat throughout the show. But if you want to join in, just like Holy Cannabis Oil did for $4.20 a month, brother. Whoop, thank you so much. HCO Research. Laura P is one of our patrons. I think our list is going by on the stream. I'll have to update that now because we're getting new patrons. But thank you guys very much for supporting us. You can do so for as little as $1 a month. Whatever you can spare, that's great. It helps us out, helps us get new equipment and take the show on the road, which we are definitely doing. And we can get more great costuming for Chela as our show expands. It gets flashier.
Accessories are fun.
Accessories are fun.
And if I'm not going to wear them here, where am I going to wear them? I mean, really.
We need some smoking accessories. We need a new grinder.
No.
We
my
need
God.
a new...
the house is already over full. Let's just keep it the way it is.
Oh, my God. We need some new glass. It's
oh,
my
goodness. Please don't
thing.
send us anything.
We're all like out of papers even. It's so hilarious.
Ellen Bloss is out of papers.
We are flush with weed, however, which didn't need to blow your ears out there, guys. Sorry. Okay, guys, welcome everybody. Let's get into the socials. Let's get into the news this week, everybody. I forgot what we are smoking. We don't even know what we're smoking.
I can't remember what I got.
Smelly.
If Dr. Fish is in the house, maybe he could remind us.
He might be over there on Periscope. I saw somebody jump in over on Periscope. I can see the chat go by. So, but you can follow us on the Twitters. I do most of my tweeting over there at DC420LA, as well as the show Twitter, which is Reefer Rev Show. Also over there on Instagram, DC420LA. I don't do a lot of stuff over there, but Chela does over on Reefer Rev Show on Instagram.
I do a couple things every now and then. I haven't been on for weeks.
We're working on it. We've been doing a lot of stuff. We did another virtual dementia tour yesterday. That was exciting. We taught 18 learners.
Yes.
16 or 18 learners.
18 learners. It was awesome. They all loved it. We sang a song at the end. It was great.
And it, put us a little behind on the show today, but it was great. And as I said earlier today, it all comes together. We get together. We have fun. Everybody jumps in and we have a great time.
That's right.
So
we got Alexis in the house.
Oh,
we got Cosmic Lettuce and Brian Wilkinson, RBU 83145.
Alexis, get well, better and better.
Laura
Alexis,
P.
every day. We know you're suffering from a little concussion, and we hope you get better and better every day. From fun. Yay, fun. And the height advantage in volleyball is noted, as well as your radical, revolutionary tweets.
Yes.
Throughout the week when we find the news. So
I
thank you.
aspire to being as revolutionary as you, to be quite frank.
I do as well. I just sit here and play videos. That's what I do. And I also put together a Cannabis Chronicle over at dc420la.com. And you can subscribe to that. I put it out once a week. Comes out Sunday morning at some point. After collecting as much news as I possibly can. It comes in like a rocket. But this is the stuff that we find to be most interesting throughout the week. A lot of great sources, including Marijuana Moment is a great source for us, but also throughout the mainstream media, as well as other cannabis media. And the big story this week is this historic research finally completed. We don't have the results. We do have some results, actually, in a clip we're going to play, a sneak peek that we got that is from the Emerald Cup, and also the interview that we got with Dr. Sicily at the Emerald Cup. We got a nice interview we're going to play at the 5 o'clock hour. In that hour, preview for you guys before we put it out on the channel. Put a little more spit and polish on it, but it's a really great interview. And we wanted to get the content out this week because it is Dr. Sue Sicily, who is the lead researcher over there at MAPS, doing the work, picking up the ball dropped by the University of Arizona and Colorado funding MAPS to finish this research. Was in at the Emerald Cup. We had heard they had reached their final number of veterans in the study, and they just released the news this week. MAPS put out the, there it is, press release. Researchers announced completion of the first clinical trial of marijuana for PTSD in veterans. Great news this week. Smokable flower marijuana with some surprising side effects. So great news. It was picked up by High Times, of course, as well as Cannabis Now. Great stories you can read over there at the Cannabis Chronicle. About that, and we're going to get into that in the hour. What's that? No results yet. The results they hope the results will be out by the end of the year, and it will be completely accessible for everyone. Link will go out. The good, the bad, and the ugly. All of the results. It's a nonprofit that's doing it, so they don't just put out the good stuff like Big Pharma does. They're going to put out everything. And the anecdotal evidence is strong, guys. It's looking good. So there you go. The other top story of the week in politics sort of slipped under the radar. We sort of knew that Trump was supporting the States Act, but a little more detail coming out this week from Marijuana Moment about the conversation Cory Gardner had. Marijuana Moment actually picking it up from another source, conversation that Cory Gardner had with Trump. And Trump is no fan of Sessions nor his policy towards cannabis. So it is looking even more possible that some type of reform is going to happen on a national basis. Good news. Read that story from Marijuana Moment over at the Cannabis Chronicle. Also, in the Hill this week, they picked up the study that marijuana legalization is not driving increases in violent crime. So there you go. So much for psychosis, violence, crime, and marijuana. The Reefer Madness of Tell Your Children, also the first title of the original Reefer Madness movie, which is really ironic. That's irony, right? It doesn't cause violence. So there you go. No increase in violent crime. New source picked up this week. These guys are pretty good. Cannabis Wire, been reading them lately. Picking up some good stories. We were talking about this last week, the CBD food crackdown. CBD in food crackdown is escalating throughout the country. We've got some stories in the afterburn about it. But it's here. The FDA has got their license to chill the budding CBD in the food business. And they are taking the advantage of their newfound letter of authority, thanks to the Farm Bill, the new Farm Bill. So good and bad coming out of that. Tomatoes, baby. Tomatoes. Just give it to the Department of Agriculture. And let the people go. But hey, listen, there's debate. There's even more debate now coming out. I've been, sort of leery about the fazul of straight CBD and isolate and putting it in food, and I'm still not convinced. Still not convinced either. So maybe it's a good thing, maybe it's not. I don't know. But they're doing it. The FDA is cracking it down. Let's see. Oh, Bernie Sanders. Oh, guess who announced this week? Burners for Bernie. Yes, it's true. This was a Bernie Sanders channel back in the day. You may have You may remember me as Feel the Burn TV. The original iteration of this YouTube channel, thus the large number of subscribers. I'm just busted myself. But yes, Bernie Sanders has decided to jump into the race this week. We kind of knew it was coming. We weren't really sure. We had speculation otherwise, but he's jumping full force in. And of course, he doesn't need to get on the bandwagon or join the party. Bernie has been at the party since the 60s on cannabis and decriminalization and descheduling. So he doesn't need to put out announcements like Klobuchar and all the new people coming to the party because he's always been there. Thank you, Bernie, for jumping in and getting his voice. His voice needs to be there. And he blew the fundraising out of the water. So
pretty cool. Jilly Love wants to remind us all that this week, Tulsi Gabbard would deschedule, not just reschedule cannabis. I need a link for that. I would love to see more about it.
Yes, we've been hearing that. I quite frankly, I didn't really dig too deep on that to find it, but we believed you. I think we heard that last week. Right? Yeah, we believed it. Also, Andrew Yang.
Yang would deschedule too.
Yang, not only that, he'd deschedule it on day one, take it off the CSA, and let everybody out clemency for all cannabis crimes.
On 420.
Yeah, on 420.
And he would high five everybody coming out.
Right. So, and Yang apparently is on the debate stage. Since we're talking about that Bernie a little bit, and Tulsi, we're not quite sure if Tulsi really hasn't said anything, but Yang in an interview this week did say that the DNC has contacted him and said he's there, he's in, and he'll be on the stage for both May and June. So with their new system, new democratic system of nominating a nominee. So we'll keep posted on that, but rest assured, Bernie Sanders is in the corner of cannabis. Not a problem there.
Not that we're endorsing him.
Not that we're endorsing him.
I like Bernie. I like Yang. I like Gabbard. I'd like to see them all on the debate stage. Yeah. I'm open.
I want everybody on the stage. Except, why is Amy Klobuchar wasting our time?
Whatever. I don't need to listen to her. It's fine. I can just click off when she comes along.
Meanwhile, I know that your glasses are waiting to express themselves. So
They're perfect.
I will get
They're
to
fine.
it. I love it.
No, it's all good. They're just perfect just on their own.
Meanwhile, the outrage of the week, Alexis Bortel was tweeting about this one, and someone who does not like boycotts either is ready to do it, and I might be as well. Corporate cannabis, guiding the hand of government cronies in New York.
Disgusting.
About home grow.
Really.
Don't let people grow their weed, whatever you do. And they all jumped on board. Now, my question is, if MedMen
tyrants
bought PharmaCann, so that combined them both. They have double impact. But yeah, that's pretty horrific. Not that we didn't know they were doing it.
It was obvious when they didn't allow home grow in the bill, and when he proposed. It was obvious that that's where he was getting his information. I'm super stoked that it came out in such a timely way.
Well, it's they're being tag teamed by Big Pharma and corporate cannabis to stop the home grows throughout all of the laws, and you're seeing it in all the states. And we must resist. Just say no home grow. We need to fight our way, get rid of the lists and get rid of the restrictions on home grow because people should be able to provide their own herbal medicine when it's not going to kill them. So continuing on, just a couple of more stories. Reason actually picked up this story and asked some questions, and Alexis was talking about this on her Twitter feed. Alexis Bortel, of course, saying that is this dumb? No, this is tyranny. Actually, it's tyranny. It's not just dumb. It's something that they should not do, like we did here in California, because that's basically what happened with Prop 64. Corporate cannabis wrote the law. And that's why we just have 1/6 per household. It used to be per person here in California under medical. So they restricted it really tight under Prop 64. There you go. Let's see. In our a couple international stories this week, but a big one that popped out is they are celebrating the year of cannabis in Israel as well as a few other Middle Eastern countries, strangely enough. But Israel's very excited about their new business and new way to be able to prescribe cannabis to patients. It is pretty exciting. The scientific movement in cannabis in Israel cannot be denied. And it looks like, despite efforts of the government to really stop this, it's made its way through and it's happening. So that's good news, because they do know what they're talking about. That's for sure. Ooh, I think that's it. What else popped up? Sun Sentinel is yes, marijuana legalization is working. It's working. The story. Oh, that we're gonna see that story after we look at some videos, new updated news. But that's the Cannabis Chronicle for the week. Go over to dc420la.com, read that and a bunch of other stories, some of which will back up some of the videos we have in the Afterburn this week. So, ooh.
Oh, hey now.
It's the ghosts of Mount Washington are adjusting my chair. So, Chela, what's your take on the news? Any wrap up? Chela's toque with the cute dogs in the background, the pink sunglasses.
My pink sunglasses.
So fashionable.
Good fun stuff. Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us. I love to leisurely read the Cannabis Chronicle on a Sunday morning. That's always very nice. Punctuated by the dog walks. I hope you guys are doing fun stuff that you enjoy. That's super duper important. I just love that so many in the mainstream media are talking about cannabis all over the place. I find that to be the best news of all the news, is that everybody's talking about cannabis. So, really, I'm sorry, let me get back to the Chronicle here.
Well, while you're doing that, Wilbert Collins joined over there in Periscope. Well, welcome, Wilbert. Thanks for joining in over on the Periscope. We are asking folks, once we get done with our first hour, we might move our Afterburn into onto another platform because of YouTube's craziness. Or strictness, whatever you want to say. But we're asking, what would you prefer? Periscope, Twitch, or DLive? 3 really good platforms that allow you to chat as long as you can create an account, which, you can make up or whatever you need to do, or you can just view if you don't want to engage. But we're taking a little poll, so drop your answer in the chat or take the poll in the video as Chela picks up the Chronicle and talks about a couple of stories. You were talking about Cory Gardner and Trump this week.
I did love that. I love that so much. I loved that Cory Gardner is telling the world what Trump said about cannabis. Did you bring up that story already? Did you show the people the story?
Yeah, I can bring it up again, though.
That'd be cool.
Sure.
So they were hanging out. Well, they were chatting, and he said to his good friend on his own team, "Yeah, I don't like how that's going." So I think that we really do have an ally in 45, and I'm going to take allies wherever I can get them, especially if they're the President of the United States. So I think it's really important that you and I, send nice notes to the President and all of our elected officials about what we want. That we want cannabis descheduled, that we want home grow, and that anything else is tyranny, to quote Alexis Bortel. It's a true story. It is tyranny, and we need to stand up to tyranny. I find myself not being as black and white about it, because movement in the right direction is still movement in the right direction. Now, as a 40-something-year-old adult human who's seen a lot of bad news from the tyranny around cannabis, if it's off the Schedule 1, that's a good place to start. I'm cool with that start, even if it means no home grow in bills that they think are going to move forward. Like Barbara Lee, who now we all know where her allegiances are. I don't know. Do you know if Booker and Lee's bill allows for home grow?
From what I can read in the gobbledygook that is the adjustment to the CSA in the Marijuana Justice Act, it essentially, what it basically is saying is it's removing it from the CSA. Mm-hmm. Manufacture is the word that's used, but there's no grow specifically in there.
They don't say grow. They don't say cultivate.
They say transport. They say export. They say
sell,
use. I'm not sure. I'll pull it up and look at it. But there's no specific grow. Says they cannot be prosecuted for. But if it's not under the CSA, it's no longer under the jurisdiction of the Justice Department. Therefore, it's either going to be, if it's not put into another organization like SB 420 does, puts it under the Treasury Department and the ATF, as opposed to the CSA and the Justice Department. So if the Marijuana Justice Act doesn't do that and just pulls it off the CSA and it's no longer on under any control, is the FDA still going to claim that derivatives put in food, as they're doing now with CBD and legal hemp?
Right.
Now that hemp is legal, are they still going to do that? They control the food and drug supply. I'm sure they'll have something to say about it. It's just that, will people not get arrested? Will people not be, will you be able to, drive your 55 pounds of weed across the state line into another?
Will you be able to travel with it?
From one state that has it legal to another? Because states' laws are still going to be in effect. Even if you remove it from the Federal Controlled Substances Act, every state has a Controlled Substances Act. So, but you would be able to theoretically drive from, all along the West Coast, picking up your weed and driving it from state to state,
right,
as much as you want. So, that'd be kind of cool. And Cory Gardner, out of the group, there's another article in the Chronicle this week, that basically looks at all of their stances. And of course, you got the newbies to the party this week, Klobuchar, who basically was forced to come out and say she supports legalization in a statement that was dragged out of her in a basically a formatted interview form. So she had to answer the question because somebody answered it, but she hasn't been volunteering the information. And the puppy porn behind Chela is awesome. We missed, unfortunately, the Oscar rolling around on the pillow. I was just entertaining that, actually, enjoying that. I didn't realize it was not on screen. It was quite good while we were looking at Trumpito. But yes, that jackpot and Oscar are cannabis canines. It has not helped Oscar's grumble-door
bad mood,
however, but I'm sure
we
his
don't
joints
really
feel
give
better.
him THC, so
that
could be it. Another story I really liked is a Forbes story. Is it too late for mom and pop operators to get into cannabis? And really, the answer is no. We in California just this week, somebody who is right on top of the pulse of cannabis legislation, Hezekiah Allen, mentioned AB Assembly Bill 1710 that would allow mom and pops to get into the cannabis space in California. So as long as you regularly contact your elected officials, you would be surprised at how responsive they are. Every time Dave and I have had to contact our local electeds and work with them on something, it's always been really successful. I think if you, speak to them like a human and try to reach them somehow.
Like we're trying to reach Stabby. We're trying to reach Stabby McStabpants.
Listen, everybody comes to things in their own way. But right now I know for a fact that lawmakers in the great state of California are open and understand the problem with the system they set up, or that was set up due to Prop 64. So, it's possible to change things. We just have to be engaged with it.
That's true. You are seeing movement. You'll see in the interview we did with Dr. Sue Sicily coming up in the second half of the show that really the states like Pennsylvania, who moved because so many people came out and said, no, you have to allow flower.
That's right.
As medicine. You just cannot restrict it to be oil only. It's ridiculous.
Right.
And they moved and they changed. And Michigan is, they're including research in their stuff. So we can get states and lawmakers. Other states are changing things. The lists are something I think we can approach lawmakers about. Because if they want to talk, especially in the Republican side, it's tyranny, and it's freedom. With the Democratic side, it's really, you're going to limit medicine who are never going to get hurt from it. You say you want to take it off the schedule.
Same with home grow.
That's another thing with Klobuchar. It's like, oh yeah, I think we should reschedule. Is it reschedule or deschedule? To reschedule. She wants to reschedule.
Yeah.
Is what she wants. And I'm like, we've already, or let the states go. That's what it was. She wants to let the states do it. She's a states' rights person. And I'm like, we already have that.
That's no different than Trump.
And we just had reaffirmation this week from Cory Gardner that's exactly what Trump is saying. And that, you got to be bold. If you're gonna beat Trump, and you're gonna, stand for something, have an agenda that's not somebody else's, and be bold. You got to be bold. At least, Cory Gardner or Cory Booker, is he a big pharma Trojan horse?
And vegan?
I mean, come on. How he's taking all this money is he taking money from big meat too? That'd be interesting to see.
Really hard to deal with him.
If Big Ag is giving Cory Booker a lot of money too, and a vegan's never going to win presidency.
I think these two other stories are also very interesting. That California made, in the OC Register, California made $345 million, not the predicted $1 billion on legal cannabis. And the, the story from the Gazette from Colorado Springs, closed cannabis club owner admits not paying more than $3 million in taxes. Well, this goes back to the banking thing. If these businesses were bankable and had banks, well, these things would be trackable. Mind you, it's all tyranny, and taxes are tyranny. It's all tyranny.
But they want taxes. That's what it's all about.
But if this is what they want, if this is what the system is demanding, then the system is going to change the banking, and it's got to take it off the Schedule 1 in order to change the banking. So I think this is really just around the corner, and that's why it's so super exciting. It's a super exciting time. But you always got to, just keep home growing. Keep home growing.
Well, the cannabis businesses.
If you can grow if you have the freedom.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. The cannabis businesses are begging for change in the banking system. The banks, the story this week on the credit union in California that had to basically stop the applications of cannabis businesses from coming in because they couldn't handle it.
There's
too many applications going to credit unions. So that's a win for credit unions. And the banks are missing out. So the banks are missing out on that cannabis cash. And they're going to want a piece of it. So that's the first thing that's going to change.
Yep.
You're going to probably see that bill make its way all the way through. I'd say the SAFER bill is probably going to make its way all the way through. States Act is probably going to make it through. Yeah. And one of the research bills will make it through.
Yeah.
Probably pretty toot sweet.
It's a pretty exciting time, you guys. It really is. So keep the pressure on your elected officials. They really do pay attention. Write letters, write handwritten letters if you can. Send pictures if you can. Show up if you can. They listen. They really actually listen, because if you are so impassioned about something that you actually call or write or show up, oh my goodness, they know that represents a lot of people. So they just want to keep their jobs. And we can influence their shady ways a little bit, one bite at a time.
Alexis says, if cannabis causes you to make less money because of career problems, how is the answer higher taxes on poor people? Excellent point. So some of the other, see if we can pull out any other chats here.
Yes, I'll never vote for Cop Molly either. She is a monster. She's not even entertained in this house, so we don't even mention her name. She's not a possibility. The only possibilities for me are Sanders, Yang, and Gabbard, unless of the ones that have declared today. Those are my only choices.
Putting a cop in as president is like putting a general in as Secretary of Defense. They like to, cop's going to cop. And, we need, that's words. The actions prior to this, it's an election season. Everything's going to change. So yeah, we pretty much have a ranking of that, but the debates are going to be interesting. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm hoping they're fair and open, and, they let people on that debate stage that, are not Democrats and, who are able to at least meet their threshold and then not have the goalposts move. That's what I'm thinking, is that, once everybody gets in there, especially Tulsi. I think if Tulsi ever gets to the point where she's going to be in there, they might move the goalposts because of the anti-war message. The UBI message, I think, is something even the Koch brothers and Zuckerberg and all the big mega corporation heads, they know UBI is coming because the jobs are not coming back.
And Walmart knows that Medicare for all is the thing.
And
if
exactly.
Walmart's on board, you guys, you know it's happening. Walmart is the driver of things in the marketplace.
You know why we have this bullshit, right?
Yeah. Why we have barcodes is because of Walmart.
That's because of Walmart.
So you guys, it's happening. It's a very exciting time. Yeah. Be stoked about it. We can still shape policy, send notes to all of your electeds, and
especially locally, because there are so many. Some of these cannabis, they're one of the most conservative counties in California. Calaveras County reversed, did a full 180 on no commercial cannabis in their county, and they said nope, wrong. Sorry, we were wrong. We were wrong. Oops. Well, so it can be done. It can be done. And, and what we do, one of the things I think we really have to break down and get through is because if you see there's more media that's addressing the Berenson book this week and talking about this new reefer madness. One of the things that needs to be broken down is the paradigms around cannabis, like with regards to the FDA, the paradigm around drug approval, that the way a drug gets moved through the FDA. Everybody says, oh, well, we're waiting for as soon as it's FDA approved, then we'll do it. If the FDA approves it, you got to move that through the FDA. Well, there's literally no way for smoked cannabis flower or any flower to get through, or any botanical to get through the FDA process in a phase 3 because it's against the law. There's no way to provide a phase 3 drug to test it, so you can't do it.
Because it's the plant.
Right.
The plant is the drug.
Right.
And this plant, as soon as this plant is done, it's done.
They need a drug file that says, this is how much is in it, this is how it's consistent, this is always there, blah, 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 blah. So that's why GW could get Epidiolex through, because they were able to isolate the CBD and make it consistent in every drug and get it through an actual phase 3 trial for $80 million. Dr. Sue Sisley, we're going to see in this video, or in the interview we did, that they really want full flower cannabis to be able to make it through the FDA. So that paradigm is going to have to change.
Yep.
The other paradigm that's going to have to change is the driving while high paradigm.
Oh, that's
because great. Law enforcement and politicians they cannot understand that the difference between cannabis and alcohol, and that there is one.
I think we need more studies.
I'm trying to get into the one in California. State of California gave money in Prop 64 to study some of this stuff. And one of the tests that they were going to do is for driving while smoking. I'm like, sign me up. I'll come take that test. But I have never heard from them. So they are supposed to studying it, but somebody tweeted this week in some, I know what it was. The Canadians have a test now, or they're training people. They're training bud tenders, government store owners, operators, to spot somebody that's high in 15 to 20 seconds so that they won't sell them any more weed. And they're putting them through this Fazul training course to teach these guys how to, and it's like disheveled clothing, red eyes, slow speech.
Some people just talk slow.
So not only do the
some
cops,
people are just disheveled.
Not only do the cops, and there was a story we dumped from the burn, because it's one of those stories, I think, but it's the cops are just like, oh, the drug recognition experts are like, well, we don't have that many drug recognition experts. Well, then how the fuck are you arresting so many people?
I spoke to one
for driving while under intoxication, because that's what actually holds up in court, is the drug recognition of the officers. So it sounds like you people need to train more drug recognition experts and not worry so much about saliva tests and blood tests that are completely unconstitutional and also completely ineffective in determining if someone that's been smoking cannabis or taking cannabis in some way is not impaired or is impaired. So those two paradigms are, our system can't get into it. Now, the medical flower botanical cannabis, other countries have figured out how to do it. Israel's about to export and prescribe. And so there's study drug in other countries that people who are doing research in this country, real research in cannabis, are able to get.
The rules have
if
to
they
change.
Try.
And the Congress can change the rules. And that's what Cicely was saying.
Right.
And that's why that they completed the study. They got 76 study participants. And she was having a dickens of a time recruiting participants in Arizona.
I don't know why that.
Which is where she lives, because it's a Republican, very conservative state, and it was illegal. So for you to say, oh yeah, sure, I'll smoke pot for 3 months for your study, it was hard for her to find people. First of all, the VA wouldn't publicize it.
Right.
And so she had to go to gun shows and strip clubs and find a very creative avenues to find study participants, so that she finally got the 76th participant is awesome. And then that they've completed it. She had already gotten it by the time we met her at the Emerald Cup, and 3 months had to go by for them to complete their trial. And so the media, it was celebrating the fact that they completed their trial. And now they are going to be shopping it around to the peers and doing that peer review thing. I'm not exactly sure how it works, but she was saying that it'll be reviewed and probably by the end of the year published in some big peer-reviewed journal, maybe JAMA even, because of the rigors that they put their tests through. She wanted it to be unimpeachable.
Right. Yeah. It's very exciting. The test, the trials themselves were specifically for PTSD and different side symptoms of PTSD and what vets are suffering from. It's really interesting. I'm going to play a video right now from the question and answer period. It is 5 o'clock. So I want to get into some of these, our new interview with Dr. Sue Cicely. We're going to give you guys a preview. We're going to put a little more spit and polish on it before we publish it, but we're going to give you guys a preview because it's really great information. And of course, she is in the news this week with this study. If you get a chance to go to I will drop the link in the description of the video. But when you get a chance to go and watch her entire talk, and we're going to watch some of the video from that in the afterburn, one video right now. But if you watch her entire talk at the Emerald Cup, was about the barriers to research through the federal government with NIDA, with the National Institute on Drug Abuse monopoly, with the DEA growing the crappy weed in Mississippi, and the FDA and its trial, how it get its process to get it through that. It's a great talk. And there were some really great questions. And this question I'm going to play for you guys right now stuck out to both Chela and I because although we are waiting for the results, and I'm sure these results will probably be included because they're going to put everything out. But some of the results that she was getting that weren't intended, all these things having unintended consequences when they start to look at drugs. And ironically, one of those drugs is going to go away or might go away because of the unintended consequences of this study that has been done by Dr. Sue Cicely. So let's take a listen to this video. This is a question about whether or not the 76, I think it was veterans in this study, whether or not they were able to or told to give up any drugs while they were using the cannabis. So let's listen. This is Dr. Sue Cicely at the Emerald Cup this year. We were there. We talked to her. This is from her talk about the unintended pleasant side effects of this study and the veterans. So let's take a listen and we'll talk about it on the other side. This is Reefer Revolution Live. Make sure you subscribe, get notifications, share the broadcast, thumbs up, and great controversy going on in the chat. I'm not exactly sure what it's about.
No, it's good stuff. No controversy.
Vegan Metro's in the house. Jilly Love jumped in there. Thanks for joining, Jilly Love. A great progressive out there. Timbuktu is there. I didn't say hi to you. Hi, Timbuktu and RBU. Nice to see you in the house.
And Vegan
Welcome,
Metro's
everybody.
there.
I said
Vegan
Metro.
Sorry, did I just miss that?
I did. I don't
Sorry,
know.
guys.
That's okay. But I said hello. But welcome, everybody. So let's listen to Dr. Sue Cicely and what she has to say about these other drugs that might be able to go away with cannabis.
Good question. She was asking, do we address any meds that they come on into the study with? The idea was we asked everybody to stay on the meds that they were taking. So we didn't want that to be a variable. Imagine if people were on Paxil or Zoloft and they suddenly stop and they end up in SSRI withdrawal for months. We tried to avoid by asking everybody to keep all the meds the same. The only thing they were allowed to adjust was if they were on PRN meds, as needed meds like pain meds, stuff like that. They could adjust those just like they do normally. But what was fascinating was at the beginning of the study, we had a lot of vets come in on mega doses of opioids. And through the course of the 3-month protocol, a lot of the vets reported by the end that they had either dramatically reduced their opioid intake or eliminated it. I had one guy just this morning call me and said that he's now he finished the study a year ago, and he's still a year free from opioids, and that was a huge victory because this was also a police officer who now is going around telling his fellow police officers about the benefits he's received. And this guy's really conservative and has a lot of credibility with the police department. So it's been wonderful seeing this, and I think we've learned a lot of, like secondary benefits through the course of even though we're targeting PTSD symptoms, but we found a lot of unique things, not just for substituting opioids, but other interesting elements that Sean knows about. I just mentioned one of them is that a lot of the guys came in on Viagra at the beginning of the study.
Wait, why do I know about that?
I know. I just mentioned it to Sean because I was so impressed that by the end of the study, they claimed that they no longer needed their Viagra and that smoked flowers seemed to improve both their libido and their erectile function. So I always thought that was just urban legend, but these guys were really adamant that they even noted it in their electronic diaries. So I was like, okay, so we were hoping to follow up a study looking specifically at that because that would be, Viagra and all these other meds for erectile function have a lot of cardiac side effects that prevent people from using them anyway. So it would be great if smoked flower could play a role in that. So.
So ironically, Viagra was discovered trying to find a heart medication. Turns out it actually is bad for your heart, but has that side effect. But it looks like, guess what? Cannabis replaces Viagra. There's there's another $1 billion big pharma industry to drop.
Interesting. I wonder if regular cannabis users don't use Viagra.
There's stories every week about how cannabis helps sex life, it's
blood pressure. Yeah. It's all related to that.
Absolutely.
But it would be interesting to me to do a survey
it's good.
of cannabis users if cannabis users don't need Viagra. Like, if you're already using cannabis, do you also need Viagra?
Well, that's what she said. They're going to do a new study. They want to do a study of that.
I'd love to know.
Specifically
That'll be a fun
for
thing
cannabis,
to know.
Cannabis versus Viagra. Smoked cannabis versus. How are they going to do that? In a double. How are they going to do that? They can't do a double blind study. You can't smoke Viagra.
I'll ask her. I'll send her a note.
How are you going to do that?
What's your Viagra study going to be like?
That'd be interesting. I guess they could just do a study where it wouldn't be against Viagra. It just would be guys with the problem, I suppose. It'd be interesting to see how that study is designed. So we'll keep an eye on that. That's Patients Out of Time. She is associated with as well.
And MAPS, yeah.
And as well as MAPS. MAPS, of course, being the Multidisciplinary Association for Psychedelic Studies.
Yeah, are you guys familiar with MAPS? If you're not,
amazing freaking work over there. And we're going to play the interview we did, Chela did with Dr. Cicely coming up here. And she talks about MAPS and the other work that they're doing with other plant medicine of the conscious level raising type, as well as MDMA chemical. I mean, just a plant, but so MAPS is amazing. They have completed the first trial of smoked marijuana for PTSD with veterans. And we're going to look forward to seeing that result as early as the end of the year. And it will be widely spread and widely broadcasted, both the pros and the cons of the results of that study. Any other comments in the chat or anything of note you'd like to talk about before we play our 11-minute interview?
Ooh, no, I think get into the 11-minute interview. PTSD and how, yes, Doug 209, another pill replaced by a plant.
Hey.
Maybe now we're on to why cannabis has not been allowed into the pharmacopoeia for a long time.
Yes, taken out and never to be seen again.
Until now.
2019, under President Donald J. Trump.
Wild time. No, the thing is, it's been around for this whole time. It's been around this whole time, and lots of people have been using it and going to jail for it. And also using it again. Because everybody knows. And going to jail for it again. And going to jail for it again. Because people know what a miracle plant it is. And now I think because of the advent of the internet, we all talk to each other more. It's become a thing.
Well,
and because of advocates, child advocates especially, kid advocates like Alexis Bortel, who bring things forward like the federal cannabis lawsuit. That's what's normalizing this conversation.
John Boehner, Antonio Villaraigosa, Howard Dean, none of these guys are going to be able to make any money in any of the companies that they're associated with if they don't get cannabis off the Schedule 1. Banking issues over with, because I think it's got to be off the CSA if you're going to really get into banking. Because our schedule, the UN's going to reschedule it and drop it down. They're saying, oh, look, it has medical benefits. Oops. So, those politicians aren't going to not get their marijuana money, nor the places they're going to get the taxes. Vermont's doing a 10% tax. There's a great story in the Afterburn this week. We'll get into it, where a state trooper says federal legalization is the only thing that's going to stop the black market, and a 2-year tax moratorium after legalization. Then you will destroy the black market. This guy's got to run for office. But let's take a look at an interview we conducted with Dr. Sue Sicily, who you just saw on the stage at Emerald Cup. We're going to play some more of those videos in the Afterburn. But we are going to play right now the interview that Chela did. We cut up right before Dr. Sicily was leaving the Emerald Cup. We were able to catch up with her in the green room of the media tent, the media room over there at the Emerald Cup. Let me just cue up the video here.
And yes, it's a work in progress. We're going to be adding more things to it, so you get the preview here. It's a pretty good work in progress, if I do say so myself. But it's a lot of content, and with the news that broke this week, we really wanted to get this interview out, and because she has some really great information to share about maps, about cannabis research, and about the tragedy of veteran suicide and PTSD. So without further ado, for our live audience here at Reefer Revolution Live, make sure you subscribe, get notifications. We will drop this video as an individual video in a few days as soon as we put a little more polish on it. But here is Dr. Sue Sicily being interviewed by Chela with regards to this research this week, where we just heard it has been completed, and we look forward to the results. Here it is, without further ado.
One of the problems we have right now is that we have not had a new medicine approved to treat PTSD in 17 years. Can you believe that? So the only two medications that are on the market with an FDA indication are Zoloft and Paxil. That's it. So all these other medications that we throw at PTSD patients have never actually been formally tested or approved by the FDA. They're just being used off-label. And so that's the sad reality, is that all these PTSD patients are suffering because we're not, pharma companies are not producing any new, innovative drugs. All they're doing is just recycling old drugs and trying to create new patents but here we have this situation where we have all these plants, medically active plants that hold a lot of promise for treating PTSD, and they've been, we've been aware of this for years, but we haven't been able to get the government to allow the research to move forward. And so that's why I was so grateful to see, our cannabis study looking at smoked and vaporized flower is a good start. But like you said, there's so many other medically active plants that could be beneficial for treating PTSD and addictions, and where just the government has systematically impeded this work for so long. And so that's why I'm really proud to be part of, the MAPS team that is spearheading all this really important work on not just MDMA, but they look at the whole breadth of psychedelics. And so they've done work on ayahuasca and ibogaine and all kinds of stuff that could be really important for this. So we have an epidemic of veteran suicide in this country, where we're seeing all this untreated, undertreated PTSD that's been just, torturing patients, including our military veterans, for so many decades. And I'm grateful to be associated with a nonprofit that cares about addressing this and trying to curb this suicide epidemic.
Since it's so humbug trying to get approval to study cannabis, what inspired you to follow that path?
Well, I think, it is kind of atypical. I'm a lifelong Republican that had never used cannabis their whole life till just last year when I got diagnosed with breast cancer. And then I started using to try to prevent recurrence, but I also became very openly, trying to make the public aware that I'm using. Now that I'm a fellow patient, I'm trying to help destigmatize this. I live in Arizona, where it's hard to function if you're not a Republican, but I also stick in there because I feel so strongly that they need to hear from voices like ours that are more moderate. And common sense Republicans are very libertarian, and they understand that we should be defending personal liberty, like the ability to use a natural plant without the government encroaching on that. So I'm just trying to infiltrate those circles, those conservative enclaves, and the only way to do that is by being in the party, being active, and being able to have conversations with them privately that help them rethink some of their antiquated ideas and help them reconnect with their libertarian ideology. So that's why I stay in there. But the party is a massive, disappointment.
Before you used cannabis yourself, did you have an implicit bias against it like most docs?
No, I was never against it, but I was always taught in medical school that this is a dangerous, addictive drug that should be avoided. So anytime I encountered patients in the clinic who would reluctantly admit that they were using it, I would always be very judgmental and really dismissive of all their claims. And I was one of them. And then finally, this mountain of anecdotal evidence started to get my attention, where I just couldn't ignore not just the patients, but all the collateral history from family members. I started losing patients in the clinic to suicide, and then I really woke up to the fact that, God, we're just keep pummeling these people with all these pharmaceuticals, and they're not helping, and then they're actually really toxic, and they're starting. I was starting to realize that. That big pharma, just the domination of that we had been, and I realized what an abomination it is that the medical schools still don't teach anything about the endocannabinoid system. And the problem is, if you're not exposed to that material during training, it's unlikely you'll embrace it later, because you're just juggling so many other things. Like, I'm an internal medicine doctor, so I'm constantly reading medical journals, trying to stay up on a really broad list of conditions, and so the chance of me taking the initiative to learn about cannabis separate from all is really would be unusual. That's what's so discouraging, that the medical schools are failing to teach the most important physiologic mechanism in every human body. It's just a complete void in our curriculum, and so I think when that changes someday, we'll finally start to see doctors embracing cannabis as a medicine. But because they're not even learning the basics about the ECS, it's, that science being trumped by politics once again, where the word cannabis is just so radioactive, and these universities are running scared from even federally legal research. That's what we were trying to talk about in our session, the fact that even studies with FDA approval that have a DEA Schedule 1 license that are funded with government money are still, the public universities are somehow, fearful that their federal grants are going to be, harmed by this work, and so they refuse to do it. And so that's why it was so important to me to find a path that didn't involve universities or hospitals that are so fearful of this, and instead just create, blaze our own trail in the private. Yeah.
And in your talk that it takes many years to reschedule a drug. So drugs like cannabis or MDMA couldn't just be with a stroke of a pen,
with an
taken off.
Order. I mean, we've never seen that happen. Not that I'm aware of. I mean, I always say, the FDA has to approve all changes to drug scheduling in the Controlled Substances Act. So they would not approve FDA will not approve rescheduling anything without randomized controlled trials. So that's what Epidiolex went through, and unfortunately, Epidiolex is $30,000 to $60,000 a year. That's why we're so determined to study the natural flower, because we believe that not only is that where the real efficacy lies, but that's also the cheapest version. Like every time you do extractions and have to manufacture, it adds a lot of expense. So if flower is the cheapest option, it's the most efficacious, and it sets the most precedence for other botanical medicine. Even though it's all flower is very controversial. You see states are still banning flower. There's some states only pass oil only programs, but we're gradually, once they start like in Pennsylvania, for instance, we spent months working with the health department there to persuade them that oil-only programs were not sensible, were not good for patients, and eventually they changed it, and they just approved natural flower to be on the market a few months ago. And so I was so grateful to see, reasonable scientists in the health department who are looking at data instead of just basing all the decisions on hysteria, emotion, that they're actually willing to see that, this has legitimate science to back it. And it was a really good choice. Pennsylvania's program has expanded tremendously because, if you're going to persuade people to come off the illicit market, you definitely have to have natural flower, good flower too, not just GMP. That's one of the things that I was going to mention, though, is that, I think GMP, forcing flower into this GMP paradigm that Big Pharma has created, is really ruined flower. You can see what we have to buy from the federal government. And if Dr. El Soli at University of Mississippi could just sell the flower as is and acknowledge it, yes, there will be variations from batch to batch, but there are variations now. And what he said, even with the GMP, there's still variations. So I just think that, I just got back from Aruba and Jamaica and all these different who are growing the most gorgeous flower, but they're not allowed to use that for research. And I'm trying to persuade the governments there to allow that to be the study drug that we use, because it would be much more real world, study, more naturalistic if we could use the flower unadulterated, not ground up with all the,
So what I'm hearing from you about what we can do to help move the ball forward is talk to our doctors and tell all of our friends our experience with cannabis or other psychedelics.
Yeah, I think it's important, even if they are taken aback and they look very, side eye at you and stuff. And right, so you gotta. Eventually, you will wear them down. It's just a matter of, initially they'll be shocked and they'll be, and they may even, again, be very judgmental initially, but slowly, we're starting to see even psychedelics now becoming not just mainstream in the public, but even in the universities now where they're studying it actively. We got to just have all these folks coming out of the shadows and speaking openly and keep focusing on changing laws, because it's really, the battle is still very important in all these states where there's CBD only and not full spectrum cannabis, and just, we have a ton of work left to do. And
onward.
Yeah, let's
onward.
do it.
Thank you so much for everything you do. Really, thank you.
Thank you guys
awesome.
for your work.
Awesome.
Good question. She was asking, do we...
Nicely done, Chel.
Hey, thank you. I just let her roll. She is amazing. She's full of so much knowledge, and she's worked so hard to...
Did you turn your mic back on?
Yes, she has persevered. Dr. Cicely is amazing. She is a very persistent human being. And yes, a lifelong Republican. And we had a little chuckle about that, because no, it isn't Republicans that are anti-cannabis. And it seems almost like Democrats are more anti-cannabis than Republicans are. I think because, like she was saying, about the liberty underlying aspects of libertarianism in the Republican Party, they might be reachable in that regard. So it would be wise for those of us who can manage to infiltrate more conservative circles to do so and try to get that conversation started if you can. It's fun.
Well, yeah, conservative and the mainstream like you, Chela,
yeah, moderate.
Moderate like you.
Hilarious, right?
Barbara's,
you guys know me.
Barbara's going to go, Barbara's got a little PTSD, so she's going to have a dab, Barbara.
Go get it.
Take care, Dara.
Go get medicated.
Get medicated.
Go get some relief.
Activate that endocannabinoid system, which apparently no doctors study.
No, doctors do not study the endocannabinoid system. I sort of
Who's got time?
I think that's malpractice.
Yeah.
I think we should bring a class action lawsuit against the entire medical establishment of the United States, and that it's not a law that they must study it.
That would be nice to be included in the one of these bills that gets through. Maybe one of the research bills that says that doctors can. I know they won't like it forced to do it, but maybe
no, they have to be forced in medical school to do it.
Maybe in order to redo their license or something, they have to. Get so many hours.
They all have to do continuing education every year.
Right.
And it should just be required that they have to do it within a certain number of years from the passage of the law. Sorry, I'm a fucking tyrant too.
Oh, wow. With your glasses, with your pink butterfly glasses.
I'm super moderate with my giant pink glasses.
RBU says, great interviewer. If only you could get hired on CNN.
No, I couldn't manage
I don't think the glasses would fly on CNN.
They would fly anywhere.
We'd work for Mary Jane.
I'd love to work for Mary Jane.
We wouldn't work for MedMan.
No.
I'm afraid. Not afraid of anything.
Can't
I wouldn't
do that.
be corporate.
I'd like to work for sun growers. I want to work for the sun growers of California. I want to work for Flocana.
Be Flocana's media.
That'd be cool.
Or
some sort of Emerald Outpost media outlet. I'd be super stoked to do that, but that could be happening.
Hey, listen, we're just going to keep doing this for the love.
Because we love it.
Because we love doing it, and we're going to make movies.
This is
we're going to
fun.
teach dementia patients.
You don't have to make money at things that you like doing.
Right, exactly.
You can just enjoy doing them like we do. We enjoy doing them. It'd be nice if it didn't cost us a lot of money.
I know we come from a place of privilege in many ways.
Many ways.
In many ways.
Many.
The state we live in, the color of our skin.
Alignment
with the vortex.
But it's true. The color of my skin is very fair.
Cannabis Sativa. I got to boycott MedMen. They are trying to open in Massachusetts.
Yes.
Oh, coming to Massachusetts.
Yes, boycott MedMen. There's plenty of other places to shop. Don't worry, MedMen will be just fine. They aren't going anywhere. And I like that some of the good stuff that they do. I like. People aren't all good. People aren't all bad. There's shades of gray.
They had a sort of a typical corporate problem.
Yes, they have a typical corporate problem.
They got a lawsuit they're dealing with. They're the epitome of corporate capitalism.
And yet
they're trying to reform the image of the stoner.
I like that.
which is fine.
I like that they're rebranding cannabis.
Antonio Viragosa, I made that reference earlier. He is on the board of MedMen, which is interesting. Vegan Metro says, I know a doctor who's very receptive to cannabis being medicine. Can anyone in the chat give me a really good place to send her online to find out about the endocannabinoid system?
Healer.com.
Healer.com is a great
Dr.
resource.
Justin Sulak, I'm going to take his course. It's not very expensive, and I'm pretty sure he has a CME course as well. So the doctor can get credits.
That's fantastic that he can offer CMEs. That's
He's a doctor,
great.
so
See?
he can offer CMEs.
It is doable. It can be done with the puppy party going on behind you. Oscar Grumbledore.
Oh, it's so cute. Oscar's so cute.
And,
oh my God.
Cute but deceiving. Deceivingly cute.
Don't touch him. He's adorable.
Blaster Master, MedMen are the reason there is no home grow in New York. Yes, Master Blaster, we were talking about that. It is in the Cannabis Chronicle. A couple articles, one from Reason, one from Marijuana Moment. Of course, broke the story with the document.
But
that basically
also,
had the list.
That's
the list
not a
of
done
people
deal.
to boycott. The first people to boycott in the cannabis industry. There you go. There's your list.
But it's not a done deal, you guys.
BDS.
You call all your... Sorry, I should take these off. You call all your representatives. You make a stink. You show up to their office. Call and speak to your representative's person and make an appointment to go see them. And bring a few of your friends who also are for home grow to the office with you on the day of your appointment, if you can. Otherwise, write a nice note and maybe make a call. But talk to them and tell them that no home grow is tyranny. It's a corporate giveaway, and it just furthers the problem of racism and social injustice.
And it keeps people in the unregulated market.
That's right. So just explain that to them and tell them, at least like California, we have just a few plants. For home grow, it's 4 plants.
Listen,
in California.
not everybody can grow. It's not easy. It's not easy to grow good medicine.
Most people aren't going to.
It is, but it's not.
Most people are not going to grow.
It takes time. It takes energy.
We've grown one time.
You can ruin it in a heartbeat.
He grew.
So
and whenever his plant died, he just was heartbroken.
I eventually killed everything I tried to grow.
No, that's not true. You harvested like 6 plants.
So this next one,
you before when we are medical patients, so we can have as many plants as we want.
The soil factory is almost up and ready to go.
Yes.
I'm almost ready to start the soil factory, which will be documented here at Reefer Revolution Live. We are starting literally are growing from the ground up. We're going to make our dirt before we start. And then we're going to procure some seeds from probably Humboldt Seed Company or some other excellent source. Maybe some red Congolese. I don't know. We'll try to source some good seeds. And we're going to do it all the way from the seed in a little box. And not that trendy little frickin' pyramid box they're trying to sell all the hipsters.
No, that's silly. That's ridiculous. That's silly town.
I'm sorry.
It's true.
I'm sorry. What is it? A $500 cubicle looks like something from the movie Sleeper that he would get into to have sex in the future. But practice makes perfect. That's right, Gypsy Lady Lee. We are going to practice. We've got our composting ready to start. We've got our space, 2x2 space picked out where we're going to put our tent until we get permission to plant a Volkswagen-sized plant out in the yard. That's our ultimate goal.
That's right.
Is to use our good-sized yard out there to grow 6 good-sized plants. But we'll see. We'll see. Your adventure. You will come along the adventure of our Reefer Revolution, because it is revolutionary, apparently, everywhere still, to grow your own medicine, as they will make it illegal for you to do so in most of the states that are legalizing, including the great state of New York, where more people smoke marijuana in New York City than anywhere else in the world. 77 metric tons in a year. If you can, you don't think somebody's already growing some marijuana in New York? True, lots of it comes from California. But imagine if people could grow their own in New York, how much you would not be getting brought in from California. People could grow their own 6 plants. If they could grow 12 plants like in Michigan and New York, in a basement, or if they're upstate, outside, or whatever you do in New York with those seasons. But imagine how the import of drugs from other states, if those guys could grow, if somebody could grow 12 plants legally and give it to somebody in New York, how much you would impact the unregulated market coming into the state. So, of course, we need decriminalization. We need descheduling and off the CSA from across the country, federally. But the states are another issue. We can address it at the state level. We need to address it at the state level because of the oil-only laws and all this other nonsense that is trying to actually take the natural plant that a lot of these lawmakers are saying is God's gift. Here's God's gift. Here's a plant. And now we want to press it into an oil and isolate it. And, you know, I know you do that, holy cannabis oil, but you press it the right way. You do it the right way. And I think these guys are trying to make it into a way, of course, that's, you know, acceptable to the paradigm within the FDA, and which is really the problem, because you can't get, you know, good plant medicine. You should be able to make your own. You can make your own essential oils.
Yes, and Brian Wilkinson is
right?
saying, so if you personally can't grow, but you have a friend that can and is willing to sell you personally, that should be completely legal. We agree 100%. And in California, because we are still having the problems that we're having with the unregulated market, and people are having issues onboarding on that because they made it so hard. Now in California, there's an Assembly Bill 1710 that is supposed to address that and address the idea that friends should be able to sell to their friends if they want to, in a la farmers market style.
That's what that bill is about.
It is still in the midst of being crafted, but it is to specifically allow small growers and neighbors to work with each other if that is what they want.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, so
that's great.
That's what
liberty.
I'm saying, that it's not but that's just being crafted in California after years of people being decimated and
right.
you know, having issues. But New York is not yet online yet.
Right.
It is just being talked about. So you can totally have an impact if you go down there and talk to your legislator, make an appointment with your elected official's office, talk to their person who handles policy that you're dealing with, and just get down there and do it. And bring some friends, dress nice, you know, look the part, look as nice as you can, be the business, you know, marijuana ambassador, you know, cannabis ambassador that says, hey, we reasonable tax-paying voters should be able to grow a plant just like I grow tomatoes and sell it to my neighbor who, you know, has chickens, and we trade, you know,
which as a reminder to the new to the party of cannabis in the presidential race, Amy Klobuchar from Minnesota, I believe, in the Constitution of Minnesota, basically says that you can make anything you want in your garage and sell it to your friends, or do it anything you want with it, you know, anything on your property. It's kind of in their Constitution. So take note.
Yeah.
Presidential candidates. We want liberty. We want freedom. We want it off the Controlled Substances Act. Will we take incrementalism? At a cost. You know.
But
some people are saying that corporate cannabis it's going to happen.
It's tyranny.
And it's the way we are going to have to take it in order to get in. But we need to try to address California. It's great to see California is we're trying to get the Compassionate Care Act back.
Exactly.
And get that on Gavin Newsom's desk, who's already disappointed us.
Yeah, but whatever. I'm going to put that aside and move forward.
Quite frankly, it might have been all rhetoric. I really want to know from any grower friends up in California if all of a sudden you see an influx of National Guard. Keep an eye on Instagram. Do your new contacts up there.
Yes.
If National Guard troops are rolling down the Emerald, what's the highway? What's the road where the Mount Murder Mountain is? Where Garberville is?
No. You mean, oh shoot, I forgot what it's called now.
Right
in
where
Garberville. It starts with an A.
Where all the counties meet. Alder Point. Right.
Alder Point. Yes, if the National Guard are invading Alder Point and the Emerald Triangle, let us know.
Yes, which we may, you know, hey, listen, you can pick up property in Alder Point pretty good right now. So it's unfortunate, but maybe we should get our retirement.
Oh, bye, Cosmic
we're making
Lettuce.
friends up
Thank
there.
you so much for joining us.
Cosmic Lettuce, good to see you, buddy. Thank you.
Hour.
It has been. We're ready to wrap it up.
Have we moved on?
We haven't.
Afterburn?
We're wrapping it up right now.
Sorry.
We are not in the afterburn. We need to make it official. We
got to free the plant, free the people.
What's up, everybody? Okay, buddy. What's up, everybody? This is the end of the show. Thanks for joining us, everybody. This is Reefer Revolution Live. We do this every Sunday at 4:20 Pacific. Make sure you subscribe, get notifications, ring that bell, thumb that up that thumb. Share, let people know about it. Whatever platform you're watching on. We're on YouTube. Right now, we are on YouTube. Our first hour will always be on YouTube. In addition to all of the other platforms we are restreaming to, including Twitch, DLive, Periscope, and Weed TV, the Cannabis Media Network. However, at some point, maybe next week, we're going to keep it up this week. We're going to stay on YouTube this week because we're taking a poll in the chat. When we go, we're probably going to take the afterburn, which is what we're moving into next, which is where we take a look at marijuana in the mainstream media. We watched news stories from across the country and the world that how the mainstream media is handling marijuana legalization, education, reefer madness, good news, stories of healing. We try to bring those, and we do it under fair use. But YouTube is persnickety, and they're getting more persnicketier. So we want to keep the live streaming capability available. So we may, if YouTube starts to mess with us a little bit, we may move the afterburn to another platform, which will be either Twitch, DLive, or Periscope. They all have chat functions for people who have accounts, which you can set one up. But anybody can watch on any of those platforms. I think maybe not Periscope. I think you maybe have to have a Twitter account to watch on Periscope. But Twitch seems to be sort of winning in the straw poll.
In the brief straw poll. In the chat.
But there is a poll on the stream. So please go and take that poll. Make your decision. There's a choice for Twitch, choice for Periscope, choice for DLive. DLive, for those of you who don't know, is a decentralized live streaming platform connect to a blockchain cryptocurrency. You don't have to have any of that. You don't have to know any of that, except I think if you want to chat on DLive, you have to set up a Lino cryptocurrency account. And you don't have to put any other bank information. Anyway.
We digress.
All I know is it's a pretty good decentralized, it's an excellent decentralized streaming platform. And shout out to you guys over there that are watching on DLive. If there's anybody, if I miss anybody in the chat, Nitius Nudis and Emra97 over there on DLive. Thanks, guys.
Yes, Cannabis Sativa, talk to your legislators.
Talk to your legislators. So we are wrapping up the first hour-ish of Reefer Revolution Live, and we are going to move into the afterburn. If you're in the YouTube chat, don't go anywhere. We're going to come back.
Right here.
We're coming back today. This is all
coming right
potentially.
Back.
We're coming right back.
Right back.
And a matter of fact, I better get that ready.
Moments.
I better get that title ready.
Moments away.
Moments away. We're going to shut down the stream for a second. Stay in the chat. It'll come right back up. We love you guys. We'll see you for the afterburn in about 30 seconds.
Twitch
What's
is
that?
Amazon.
Oh, I know.
Ooh.
I know. They're all getting bought up. It's crazy. What do you? That's what DLive. Maybe DLive is the way to go, guys. Check out DLive. All right, we'll be right back, everybody. Reefer Revolution Live afterburn coming up next.